Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at the Runerigus in the Open Great League. This Pokemon is going to be an interesting one because you're going to be able to completely destroy Medicham with this one, but not the Swampert. Swampert going to be a horrible lead for us, but let's see how we can play around this one. We're going to swap out into our Umbreon. This is going to be our Say-Stop. We don't really have a team here with all the insane meta Pokemon like the Lickitung, like the Medicham, like the Carbink, stuff like this. We don't have in our team. We're going to have the Umbreon, which is kinda meta, but the rest of this team is kinda anti-meta, which is kind of cool. We're going to have the Arctibex in the back, which is by far my favorite Pokemon of this season. Such a fun Pokemon, such a cool Pokemon to have, as we can now go up against the opponent's Pelipper. And as you can see here, this is going to be a CMP type apparently. And I know that I'm still going to be able to survive on Weather Ball, so we're going to let this move go through. We should survive that basically with like 1 or 2 HP left. And so the opponent only gets one fast move in. And, or was it actually 2 there? I'm not sure about it. But we can take this next Weather Ball as well as I go straight for it. And so we can go for the full farm down. And now we can hope that Arctibex is going to basically win us this game. Let's see what's coming in next. It's going to be the Tropius. And now I have some options here. I'm going to go for the bait first because the opponent definitely does not want to get hit by an Avalanche, because it would one-shot them and completely lose the game for them. But I decide to let this next move go through. It's going to be the Leaf Blade and I can still survive it, allowing me to go for an Avalanche. And at this point of time, I won this game. I can just still go ahead and go into my Runerigus, go for a charge move here, and the opponent is going to even let this move go through here as well. And we can easily farm them down with 2 shields left. We don't even need shields with a lost lead. Let's take a look at the next game. We're going to encounter a Venusaur in the lead, and this is going to be a very interesting one for us, as we're going to lose the lead here again. We're going to swap out immediately into our Umbreon, and we can at least still try to do some damage with our foul plays. We're going to let this move go through because Umbreon is our bulkiest Pokemon, but they're going to have a Charger Bug in the back anyway, so this was definitely the way to go for me, because Charger Bug is going to be a tough matchup for me, but Charger Bug is going to have a tough matchup against our Runarigus, and this is going to allow us later on, hopefully, to get a ton of energy. But let's see here, they're going to most likely try to knock me out with Exeter exactly, and I can just go immediately into my Runarigus, and I don't have to shield anything. Of course, if they would run Crunch, that might be a little bit tricky, but they're only going to have resisted moves here. The Discharge is double resisted, the Exeter is single resisted. They should go for the Exeter, which they do now, which does a little bit more damage. But we're going to get all of this matchup with so much energy, allowing me to go for a bait first, because I would have enough for a Shadow Ball anyway. The opponent uses a shield, and now I can get maybe even both of the opponent's shields, which is just so cool for Runerigus. And no, we're going to actually get the knockout. And so they only have a Greninja in the back, and Greninja, the fast move is resisted. They only way for them to win this if they get a boost here, which they really don't. And so I can just use shields here at this point of time. I just have to go up to 2 Dragon Claws, and there is no lot that the opponent can do anymore. So this is going to be a very easy game, and I think the opponent knows it as well at this point. So let's move on to the next game. We're going to encounter the Medicham in the lead. Great lead for us, exactly what we want to face, as we're going to get out the Lantern. And honestly, I misplay this one. You should stay in and go for one charge move first, for like the ground type charge move there, Sand Tomb, before you swap out into your little dino here, because this would allow you to have such a great matchup against the Lantern already, because you're gonna get the defense drop basically, allowing your Dragon Breath to do more damage, allowing your Dragon Claw to do more damage, and then you would not need to use a shield like I did here, for example. So for the next time, if you want to play this matchup, if you see a Lantern swapping in, stay in with your Runerigus for a little bit. This would allow you to definitely have a little bit of a better time, but a little bit of a trickier time is going to make this Ninetales here for us. Ninetales is going to be a tricky Pokemon to deal with for our team. I can go for the bait. Hopefully they're going to use a shield, and they do use a shield, so this might allow us to go for the full farm down afterwards, because now our fast move does more damage. The opponent is not going to enjoy this one too much, and I can go for the entire farm down. Going to be able to get some debuffs onto the opponent as well, which is for me the safe play to go for. The opponent even uses a shield, allowing us to go for another charge move, and Runerigus completely demolishing the opponent here. And let's move on to the next one. Another Swampert lead, another horrible lead for us here again. So we're going to stay in for a Sand Tomb and then try to catch a move onto our Umbreon. Umbreon is basically our damage sponge, so we can just take any kind of charge move here, as well as you kind of always want to have some energy on your lead, as we will be able to just go for a foul play eventually here. A little bit of a lag, but this foul play should put the opponent fairly low, and we can go ahead and get to another one afterwards as well. But as you're going to see, the opponent is going to go for another Hydro Cannon. It still does not knock us out, and we can now get the shield from the opponent or the knockout against the opponent. And what are we going to get here? We're going to get the knockout. So we were able to win back switch advantage, as well as we're going to have a ton of energy already on our Runerigus, as well as we can now lock in Pokemon for us, basically. Like, no matter what they're going to have in the back, they're most likely going to have to deal with some debuffs of the Runerigus or some Shadow Balls. So here, they're going to go for a great bait, which they can definitely go for if they want to, but I can just use my other shield as well. If they're gonna go for the Hurricane, which they do, I'm totally fine with it. And they're going to have a Pidgeot in the back. And this is basically the worst possible matchup that I could imagine. Because Pidgeot is the only hard answer really for our Runarigus. So we are forced to use basically try to catch the move here onto the Feather Dance, which is still not really ideal. And I'm forced to go for the Shadow Ball now, which is double resisted plus also double debuffed, not doing any damage at all. So we're in a tough spot at this point. I can still go ahead and go for the Shadow Ball, and the opponent still has to go for at least another charge move here. And what we actually can see here is that I get the opponent's Pidgeot, weirdly enough, very, very low, allowing me to hopefully go for the full farm down here. I have the Avalanche, and our little Arctibax is going to be all it takes to win this game, and we can move on into the next one. Let's see what we're going to get next. We're going to have another horrible lead force. It's going to be the Alolan Ninetales again, and with Powder Snow. Charm is so much easier to deal with. This is like the one weakness for this team. I honestly, before I played this team, I did not really encounter too many Alolan Ninetales. They were kinda gone, so like I didn't really worry too much about it, and I encounter them all the time here, which is a little bit annoying. But at least I can go ahead and go for some more Sand Tombs against the opponent to try to just get a little bit more of a debuff onto the opponent. I have to get rid of them, so I have to get some damage here. They're going to outspeed me though, so I'm forced to use my Umbreon as a Say-Stop against a Fairy-type Pokemon. But maybe you can even go for the full farm down here with Snarl, but the opponent decides to swap out into the Medicham. This matchup is actually not that bad for us if we weren't like already a little bit damaged, because Umbreon can win the matchup against the Medicham if you use a Say-Swap in the Zero Shield scenario, if you have enough energy stored basically from that matchup there. But as we were already getting some damage here from the opponent's Ninetales where we caught a move, it's going to be a little bit of a tough one, because the opponent is going to CMP tie now on my next charge move, and so it's going to be a trickier one. Now we're going to go back into the Runerigus, and I'm kind of going to be forced to use a charge move here, because otherwise one Ice Punch is going to be too much. And they're still going to have their Ninetales now, so it's 2 shields for the opponent and 3 Pokemon against my Arctibax. Unless they're going to have something insanely weak in the back, this is going to be a tricky one, and they're going to have something insanely weak in the back, which is going to be the Lantern. So, let's see here. We're going to be able to just let this move go through. It's going to be the Surf, and we will see that we are going to be able to go for most likely 3 Dragon Claws, which we kind of have to go for anyway. As they're going to go for another Surf, not enough to knock us out. If they went for the Thunderbolt, it would have been way smarter for them, but we definitely have a chance here still. We have to hope that we can farm them down, and we can farm them all the way down here with the Medicham. So can we still get to 3 moves in time? We can get to the first one here, but no, we cannot get to another one. So moving on to the next one, we're going to encounter a great lead for us finally with a Medicham, and they decide to stay in, which is amazing for me. Here for you, you can just go straight, like let this move go through. If it's an Ice Punch, it's fine, doesn't really do damage. You can go straight Shadow Ball if you want to, like literally no harm towards that. I don't think they can outspeed you in the 2-shield scenario, but they decide to use a shield anyway, so you can use a shield here as well then, which would be fine. I think you even survive another Ice Punch there. I think you would have maybe even get to another move, but here we're going to do exactly what I kind of would appreciate there as well if you would do that the entire time when you play this team. Go for the debuffing move if they swap into their Lantern, because this will allow you to have a great matchup here with your Arctibax, because Arctibax is going to have a better time with a Dragon Breath plus Dragon Claw. You don't need as many Dragon Claws to knock them out anymore. And so this matchup is way cleaner for you, as well as you can get a ton of energy, which can help you out against, for example, here the Medicham, which does not appreciate the Dragon Claw that is coming in here either. They're going to let this move go through though, and I can farm them all the way down. And now they're going to have a Registeel in the back. Again, those battles as throughout the entire week are not in the Catch Cup, they are just open Great League battles, because Catch Cup is basically open Great League, other than like Registeel, Deoxys Defense, Cresselia, something like this, which we're not able to catch during this season. But yeah, still for the Open Great League, which is coming up, I think, again tomorrow, which is kind of cool. So definitely, maybe try this team out if you want to. It's definitely a little bit more of an anti-meta Spice team. Doesn't mean that it's always going to work, but I definitely had a lot of fun playing this one. So definitely something that you can try out for Registeel. This Pokemon is really cool. It just breaks the core of Medicham plus Registeel, which is just so cool for Runerigus. But let's move on to the next game. Next game, going to have again a Registeel in the lead. Again, as said before, those battles are in the Open Great League from the last time Open Great League was available. And we will see here Greninja swapping in against us. Night Slash is coming through, going to get some damage onto me, but I can go for the full knockout most likely here with the Dragon Claw. Let's see, they're going to actually going to shield this move up, but I should be able to win this in the 2-shield scenario because Dragon Breath is just taking a lot of damage onto the opponent here. So we're going to be forced to use another shield in order to align our Pokemon, which I feel like is definitely the play to go because literally Registeel and Runerigus, they don't like each other. Like, it's literally one of the best matchups for you. And we can just go for the Avalanche against the opponent here. Going for another one afterwards as well. Gonna put them already at like 40% health at this point, which is kind of nice. And I can let this move go through. It was a CMP tile, which is amazing. So they don't really have any energy here. I can go for my Runarigus, and we're going to have the Frost in the back as the opponent decides to forfeit. Let's see. Next opponent, horrible lead. The worst possible lead for us is going to be the Pidgeot, and they're running even Gust, which is weird. But I can try to go for a charge move, and I should have went straight for my foul play here. But I didn't, and they are running Aerial Ace on the opponent. Like, why are you... I'm not going to ask that. Like, don't run Gust plus Aerial Ace on your Pidgeot, please. It's not really the most ideal moveset there for sure. Like, Pidgeot's main focus is to debuff opponents with basically the Feather Dance. I don't know. Like, I just honestly don't know. We're going to be able to go for Last Resort, though. I think if you just get to one move, Last Resort is a little bit better. Sadly, not enough to knock them out, so I'm still forced to go for another fast move here. I'm still forced to swap out immediately, but at least we know that they're not running the crazy move of the Feather Dance, apparently. Or they're running Aerial Ace plus Feather Dance, who knows. But we're going to be able to just use a shield here and hopefully go for the full farm run afterwards. It's going to be the Aerial Ace again, and we can... Oh, we have to shield another time. I didn't expect that they would get to the move that fast here. So it's going to still be a tricky one. They're going to have the Trevenant in the back. I'm forced to use a bait here in order to get the final shield. And honestly, it is not looking too good. I had to try to go for the Avalanche, but I would have never been able to get there. As now, they should be able to knock me out with one charge move. And so this is going to be sadly a loss. But still, was a fun one there. Let's move on into the next game after we are sadly losing to the Pidgeot here. Next game coming up, we're going to have the Serperior in the lead. Horrible lead for us, but our backline is kind of fine against it. Umbreon is neutral, plus our little lizard in the back is going to be very good against the Serperior. So we're going to have a decent time then, but they're going to have also a Dugong. And Dugong is a little bit tricky to deal with for this team. Again, because your lead is not going to enjoy it, as well as your Dragon type in the back. It's going to be okay against it. It's like very, very neutral matchup, but it's not like you're not going to have like a full hard answer against something like the Dugong. You would need something like a Medicham or something like a Carbink or something like this for that, even though Carbink is also weak against Drill Runner. We're going to be able to still go for the foul play here, and we are trying our best to get a shield advantage, but with this, we're going to get the opponent low enough that we can actually go for a full farm run with the Arctibex, and so we have to hope that Arctibex is going to be able to core break the opponent's team, and it will be able to do exactly that, because they're going to have the Lantern in the back. And so, our Arctibex is going to have a very important mission here now, because we're going to be able to go for some Dragon Claws here, but we're going to have to try to win this game with our Arctibex. And I could do actually something interesting here, which is trying to get rid of the opponent's Lantern, then basically go into my other Pokemon there, try to debuff the opponent's Serperior maybe, and then try to win this game with some extra damage from Dragon Claw plus Dragon Breath. But the opponent decides to basically to forfeit here by swapping out into the Serperior anyway, because I can go for the Avalanche. The opponent has to still take another one here, and this is going to be a good game, as they have no chance to win against my Arctibex anymore. Or even my, Runerigus here. Runerigus gonna go for a shield, go for a farm down, and win me this game. Final game for today, we're going to encounter Venusaur, Shadow Venusaur in the lead. Again, horrible lead for me, like a ton of very bad leads, but this is a cool thing about Runerigus. Runerigus can come back later on after basically getting some extra energy advantage from a different matchup and just completely win the game. But the really awkward thing for this team is actually a Zoom Roll. This is the biggest issue for this team. Your Runerigus is actually kind of okay against it. Like, you're still going to be able to hit back with Shadow Ball plus Shadow Claw. Like, that's going to be fine. But of course, super effective Bubble, super effective Ice Beam, super effective Hydro Pump is going to be a little bit tricky. So, Play Rough coming through here. And now we're going to have to hope that our Runerigus is going to be fine against the opponent's Zoom Roll. I am going to shield this move up. It is going to be the Hydro Pump, so it was definitely the right call. but I can overfarm so much here that I'm going to have an advantage at least later on, which is going to be nice. But they decide to use a shield, allowing me to go even for another charge move here, which is amazing for me. And they're going to not use a shield here, so I'm going to be just having equal shields. I can swap out into my Arctibax, and they're going to have a Dugong in the back. So this game is going to be insanely close, or like very difficult to win it, definitely here, because the opponent going to have a very neutral matchup there. And I have to hope that I maybe get some extra energy on my Runerigus to win this game, but I decide to use a shield here instead, which might not be the smartest idea, as the opponent going to be able to just go for another charge move, and I feel like at this point of time, this game is kinda over. Icy Wind is gonna go through, and I can go for the full farm, and I have a move stored, but I'm forced to swap out here, and the opponent can go for a charge move, so this last game is going to be sadly a loss, but still, hope you enjoyed this video. Kinda want to take a look at Runerigus again, and that's going to be it for this one. Hope I see you then, bye bye.